Hello, and welcome. My name is Sabrina Victoria. Thank you so much for being here. We are here with Judy Kane, and we're going to be talking all about head trash. And you got to think for a second what that means. Like head trash, you know what that means. We all know what that means, and I think we all have it. We all have it. We're all dealing with this. So I'm super excited. She's here to bring some insights, some inspiration to not only your personal life, but also your business, right? Your business
Right.
life. So let's jump in. All right, welcome. This is Judy Kane. If you're listening live, welcome. If you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love in the comments. We're here every day delving deep into the realms of health, wealth, and leadership with some of the most brilliant women globally. We've interviewed close to 700 women, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Judy Kane. She is the author of Your Four Truths: How Beliefs Impact Your Life. It's dedicated to helping individuals get past barriers that are keeping them stuck or causing them discomfort. She helps people change the limiting subconscious beliefs that are holding them back through speaking engagements, workshops, and individual client work. She empowers others to achieve their goals. Welcome, lady.
Thank you. It's good to be
Yes.
here.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. I really love this word. I'm gonna say I've really only heard someone say this word like maybe 2 times in my life, and I just love it. Head trash. It's like, what does that mean? But then you totally get what that means. I'd
Yes.
love to kind of start there for maybe some people that are like, I don't get it. Let's start with that. What do we mean when we say head trash? What is this?
Yeah, that's the clutter that keeps you limited, right? It stops you from going forward. It might be self-talk that is not being cheerleading. They're very critical of what you're doing. I've never been able to do that. I'm lousy at this other thing. Nobody in my family has ever been good at this. That kind of stuff. But it can also be the emotions that go along with trying to do something that make you feel overwhelmed or scared or ashamed or, any of those things where you got a block there that's keeping you from moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to this, where do we pick up this trash? How do we
Wow.
find it? How do we keep ourselves? Why is there no one that doesn't have this? Where are we picking it up at?
Well, nature designed us it's a pretty smart system, really. We come in like little sponges because we don't know what environment we're going to land in, right? So we come in without many preconceived beliefs built in there, although there are some that you can come in with. And then for 7 years, we're just absorbing the rules of engagement wherever we landed. And that's where we pick up all the beliefs that actually influence 95% of our behavior. It's all those beliefs create the basis for our perceptions of reality. It's how we interpret events, other people's behaviors, what we think of ourselves. All those things are all pretty much decided by our subconscious beliefs.
So I have a question on this that's coming up for me right now, all random style. When I think of my childhood, I can't really think of anything past or before 7 or 8. So you're telling me all of this unconscious stuff is happening from 0 to 7. How come I consciously can't really, like, there's a couple things. Like I remember walking to kindergarten one day, random. I
Mhm.
remember like a kite that I lost that was like super traumatic when I was like 4. But like, I don't like my mom could have been beating me when I was like 1. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
So, how come I don't consciously remember, but you're telling me I unconsciously am absorbing? How does that work?
Yeah, and it's not necessarily events. It's the takeaway from the events that go into the subconscious, right? So it might not be things that your parents tell you explicitly, although it could be for sure. But let's say fear of failure, right? Now, some families are very experimental, right? It's like, oh, let's try this and see how it feels. Or I wonder, let's do this. Let's climb a mountain. Let's, do scary things for other people, right? And it's kind of like a love of new experiences. And some families could go, well, let's do this and see what happens. And it's not good or bad, the result. It's an experiment, right? Or it can be, well, you're not going to be great at this until you practice some. So some people can grow up in that type of an environment. Other people could grow up in a family where it's not okay to be wrong or to fail. The messaging might not be so explicit, but you definitely come away with the subconscious belief that, it's not, don't try something that you might fail at because you don't want to fail.
So, really into how you look outwardly to people, to the world.
Mm-hmm. Money beliefs. There's huge conflicting money beliefs for people that impact them with business or anything financial, where it's a measure of success. And yet in some families, you get the messaging that you don't want to have more than you need because it's greedy, or you don't want to be like those people because they have money and we don't like how they behave, or that you have to work 24/7 for it. And it's just a real grind.
Yeah. So we absorb them like a sponge, you said,
Yeah.
and then we grow up.
Yeah.
And then how are these things affecting us in our everyday life? Like some of us are sitting around, they're like, well, I didn't have anything like super traumatic happening, but I'm still not leading the life that I want. I'm still, exhausted, not married, tired, single mom, messed up, la la la, right?
Yeah.
So how does all of that stay with us to lead us to the life that we're in right now?
Well, they do perform our perceptions, right? Which then that results in our behaviors. If we think something is unsafe, we're going to have a certain way that we'll respond to that, right? We might freeze, we might fight. There are different ways we respond to fear, but all of those responses to our perceptions of what's going on out there in the world, they're patterns, right? It's if something happens, if you do one instance of self-sabotage, that doesn't mean you've got a subconscious belief that's keeping you from that goal. But if you got a regular behavior of self-sabotage in relationships or in business or anything like that, it's one way you can tell that your subconscious is trying to keep you from that for whatever reason, either because you don't deserve it, you're not good enough, you don't know enough, it's scary, it might be painful. I mean, whatever the reason, it's going to keep you from getting there. It make it very difficult.
Yeah, I could see that. So what you're saying is we know that this is happening and there's a way out.
Yes.
Okay. So I would love to talk about that. So how is there a way out? That doesn't even make any sense. If it's something that's inside of us, how do we make those changes? Let's start with that.
All right. So the first thing when I am working individually with somebody is a lot of times they come to me for a situation and they don't really even know what they want. I'll ask them, I say, well, what would you rather be experiencing? And they don't really know what they want. They know what they're trying to avoid.
Okay.
So that's been a determinant for a lot of their behavior, maybe, or certainly in this instance. They know they don't want to be poor or alone or, whatever the thing is that they don't want. But they haven't decided real clearly what it is they do want. So we start with that. And then we figure out what are the beliefs that need to be true for them to get there, to clear the path to that. And then the change process itself is very straightforward. That's like, it usually takes less than 5 minutes to change any one belief. The art is finding all of the critical beliefs that are contributing to the situation. And then changing them is the small part of it.
Yes, absolutely. I love this. Okay, so most people know what they don't want. They know that they don't want to be poor. Most people don't know what they do want. I'm trying to check in with myself. Is that true? And I do feel like it's true. I feel like when you add, like, even simple stuff, like I do networking calls all the time.
Mhm.
At the end of the networking call, I give the person, a couple referrals. And I always say, like, what else can I do for you? What else do you need? And the answer is almost always, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just in the simplicity of just that, right? We're not even talking life. We're just like, hey, who can I connect you to in the world of business? And they're like, right, these people are running a business,
Right.
no idea what they need in their business in order to get themselves to the next level. So yeah, with their life, even more so. Okay, so first they need to know what they do want.
Yeah.
Then they need to find the belief systems that are keeping them from that.
And I can help them with that. They don't need to find them by themselves. We can talk through it. I've been doing this a long time. I can hear, clues when they're talking. Oh, well, let's go down that road a little bit more because it sounds like,
Yeah, I
whatever
think
it
this is always something that needs to be done with a coach because we only know what we know, right? Like if
Right.
we're sitting in an echo chamber of our own mind, we don't know anything outside the mind, or else you would have already fixed it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like anytime you're working with this stuff, it should always be with a coach because they're an outside perspective that's educated in this arena. I love that. Okay, so what are the main beliefs? Now, what are some of these? Like I know you mentioned money, right?
Mhm.
People want money. What is a belief, right? Just to kind of, I don't want to say dumb this down, but dumb this down a little bit. Because some people don't realize that. They don't realize that they're walking around with belief systems that are like hindering them. So what is like one or two belief systems around money that somebody might have that they're hanging on to that's keeping them stuck?
You could, without even really knowing it, have a pretty poor opinion about people who have money. And one way that you might reveal this to yourself is imagine being or remember being in a driving situation where somebody cut you off.
Okay.
And do you have a different reaction if it's a pricey car or an old jalopy?
Maybe. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
have road rage, but yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that entitled so-and-so, he thinks just because he's got the
Okay.
money and the good car, they can just cut right in front of me.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a clue. You might not have a high opinion of people with money, in which case your subconscious is not going to let you be one of those people.
Wow. Dude, I love that. Yeah, so these are little tiny things that we don't even realize.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the things that's so interesting because I changed this probably about 10 years ago. Not that I've ever necessarily been like that, but really putting in an effort to tell people, even by myself, like telling them good job. Right? Like I'll be driving and my boyfriend will be like, "Ooh, look at that really nice car." And I'll be like, "Good for them.
Yes.
Good for them. I love that for them." Versus maybe a thought that I would have in the past of, "Oh, they must have come from money," or, "Oh, good for them," or like, "Must be nice," something like that. Now I'm very much, and especially around women, right? Because I'm a woman in business. So a lot of times I was just having this conversation with somebody the other day where they were like talking about a car they want, a woman, and that she's striving for. And she's like, the only thing that sucks about really having a nice car and striving for something like this is no matter how well I'm doing in my business to afford this car, anybody that sees me driving in this car is going to assume my husband bought it for me.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. So that's kind of two-tone, right?
Well, it is, and that's just a belief she has.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's like a two-tone
Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
society, which
Yeah.
that is true, but also towards her and her belief.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Didn't really think about that until you're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they can show up all the time. It can be, I've had so many clients, the subconscious put the brakes on their business because they had a belief that you need to work 24/7 to be successful. So you change it to a belief that I can have a successful business and still have a balanced home work life, right? Or whatever it is you want. The people pick their, they pick their belief that they want. I don't, but something along those lines that gets rid of that, got to work hard for it, because nobody wants to work 20. Well, I mean, not many people want to work 24/7.
Yeah. Not many people. Elon Musk does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No telling what beliefs are there.
Good point. I'm definitely one of those people. And since what's really has helped me is the podcast. I really have an identity around being a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
Even with growing of my business, and getting help, like getting a VA or getting some teams. Now I have a team of 8, but for a really long time I was doing it all by myself, and it was actually my community that was like, dude, you need to get help, because if you don't get help, you're never going to get this business to the vision that you need help. And I was so attached to like the accolades that I would get for like, good job, you're such a hard worker. I could never. And I'm always like, yeah, I do it. Yeah, I'm on 4 hours of sleep. I do it. And that was keeping me small.
Yep. And probably not great for your health either.
Probably not great for my health. Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about head trash. What's holding you back? So what's really holding people back? Their belief systems. What else?
That's what I work with. It's that subconscious beliefs that may or may not be obvious to your conscious mind, right? They can be, I've had people that say, well, I know I don't believe that, and yet they did in their subconscious. So you don't always know what's in there, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so, I mean, what's holding them back is their behavior, but the beliefs are controlling the behavior. So it all goes back to those subconscious beliefs.
Yeah. And then what about individuals that like don't believe in getting a coach? What's the hope for them?
I don't work with people who don't want to change, and I'm actually not a coach. I don't do behavior or strategy or tools or accountability or any of those things, although I have served as a resource to other coaches frequently when they have a client that gets stuck somewhere, because I don't do those things that coaches do, whereas a lot of coaches don't have the tools that I use to help change the beliefs themselves. So sometimes that's a nice partnership.
Yeah, I can totally see that. So, to those that are watching live, thank you so much for being here, hanging out. I'd love to kind of dive into Judy. For those of you that are watching live or on the replay coming up, how do people know? What are some clues that somebody listening right now could get to get them to realize that they do have limiting beliefs that are impacting them?
Sure. Look for the patterns, right? If you have tried to do the same thing more than a couple of times and it just, you're frustrated, relationships. We probably all know somebody who has had what looks like the same relationship multiple times. And each time they come out of one and say, I'm never going to do that again. And 6 months later, they're back in something that looks very similar with a different person. That's a big clue. There's something going on there. Yeah. If you're working really hard and doing all the right stuff and it doesn't get you anywhere, I I would be pretty sure that there are subconscious beliefs in there working against you.
Yeah.
Huge frustration or about things that don't really make any sense, right? If you like feel like throwing up every time you've got to pay bills, I mean, there's a sign.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is actually interesting. I was having this conversation with my mom, and she says my dad does the same exact thing, which is why early on in their marriage she had to take over the finances, because I could have a lot of money and still not pay my bills.
Absolutely.
I had to, back in 2017, so I've been doing good, but I had to sit down, which I'm 42 now, so do the math. I was just erratic with my bill paying until 2017. Do I have it here? I don't have it here. In 2017, I finally sat down with myself because I would have late payments up the wazoo, and I have money. There's no reason why I couldn't pay. But in 2017, I sat down with myself and I'm like, at the beginning of every month, the first, second, and third of every month, somewhere between there, I have to sit down and do all of my bills, all of them, all my finances, all my bills, write it all down. I have this whole binder that I work off of since 2017. I do it every single month, actually hand write all of it since 2017. And that has helped me tremendously. But yeah, I was doing that too. And my mom said my dad does that same thing. They would have money, plenty of money, and he just would not pay the bills. Not because he forgot, but there's like a fear. There's like a,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a scarcity mindset, right? And it can be about more than money. You can think like there's not enough time. How many people do we know there's just not enough time in the day? Well,
Absolutely.
I would be pretty sure that there are things they're doing that are not on target for the goal that are making that statement true for them. And if they took those things out, they'd have the time. But same way, not enough clients, not enough love interests, not enough whatever. If you don't think it's there or there's enough of it there, it won't show up in your reality.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. This is great. And then what can people do about this? So they have limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
They call Judy.
Well, that's always good.
Yeah.
But people also always want to know, what can I do at home, right?
Yeah.
So
Before they call Judy.
yeah, before they call me,
Yes.
first of all, get clear on what it is you want, like really want to be true about whatever the situation is. And then imagine examples of how that will look in your life, right? And not just a high level thing. It's like dig into it, immerse yourself into these examples so that you know how it looks, how it sounds, how it feels, the whole emotional impact of being in those. Sometimes I have seen that help people shift the subconscious beliefs.
Yeah.
So that's always a good way to start. And even if it doesn't finish the job for you, at least you know where you want to go. So it's easier to figure it out from there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any topic off limits when working with yourself or a coach? Like, is this a blanket, like any area that you're having issues with in your life? Can it be, could these limiting beliefs alter that? Like, I'm not thinking of anything like too crazy. I'm thinking of like religion, your marriage, like.
Yeah, I've seen people for all those things.
Okay.
I have not seen many instances where any specific religion was opposed to what I do with people. So it's not like based in any faith belief. And it hasn't been a stretch. I can only think of two people since 2011 that said, I just don't feel comfortable about this with my religion. I mean, it was like, and it was just their personal relationship with their religion, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. They're conscious, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that with that faith, I would have had hesitancy.
Scientology is another one because they do their own system in there. So I don't think they, would endorse going outside of their process.
Yeah. I was thinking more so along the lines of like religious trauma. Like I went through a lot of religious trauma. I'm no longer a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
And I know I was holding on to some serious beliefs around the religion, leaving the religion,
Mhm.
because they
Yeah.
indoctrinate you with so much
Yeah.
that really.
In fact, this is the best process I have seen for dealing with any kind of trauma, because you don't need to know where the belief came from. So you don't need to go back in time and re-traumatize yourself. You just change what's there to what you'd prefer.
Ooh, I totally get that.
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you for sharing that.
That's one of the really important, because I it makes me feel sad when people have had to, revisit the same
Yeah.
extreme wound over and over again. I don't think it's necessary, but everybody, there are different ways, and I'm sure most of them all work, but this is a way that you can avoid that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just recently worked with a coach who was not qualified in the issue that, and yeah, a lot of stuff came up. A lot of stuff came up that like, and then I was just left hanging with it. It was so
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, I love this, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's dealt with that before, where you like you share openly things that have happened to you, and then the person you're speaking to isn't qualified to like deal or hold the space for that, or close the loop for it even.
Yeah.
And I was like, this just recently happened, like as an adult, like within the last year. And I felt weird for it took me probably like 3 days for me to like calm my nervous system around this thing that I brought up in the conversation of like this coaching session that I did. But yeah, they had me bring up a bunch of stuff from the past.
Yeah. Which is,
Yeah.
typically I've dealt with people with more of abuse, a physical abuse, or, extreme emotional abuse thing. And, you start with just learning that it's okay to feel safe, learning that you deserve to be treated well. There's some basic things that you can start with to kind of take the edge off of those things. And then I work with people with phobias too, right? So those are easy. I've never had a client take a full session for phobias, but you get rid of that emotional, huge response to the snake or the plane ride or whatever the thing is. And then they might have a few specifics, like I trust the people who might, who are mechanics on the plane, or when COVID started, the fear of being locked in a plane with people with masks, or with the ones who weren't wearing the masks. I mean, sometimes there's specific little follow-ups with that, but it's usually with phobias, very few beliefs that are contributing to it. Now with trauma, those are a lot more complex, right? There's a lot of support that needs to be built in the subconscious for people that have gone through that.
Yeah. I get that for sure. Well, this has been great. So appreciate all of this information. I took a whole page of notes. Thank you so much for being here. I would love for you, as we're kind of closing up here, to talk a little bit about who exactly do you help? Who should be reaching out to you?
Okay. People who are frustrated that the thing they want isn't happening, and they've tried other stuff, right? That's always a good thing. It's a good first place to start. If you just don't understand why the thing isn't happening, I can help with that. But I also help people who just like to clear the stuff out of their way on an ongoing basis, right? So I have some people that just sign up for a once a month program and just come, and we just get rid of whatever's popped up on the Judy list for the last month. But it's people who want to move forward, right? They want something to change. They might not know specifically what they want in the end, but they know they aren't happy where they are with it.
Yeah. Beautiful. Okay. And where can people find you?
On my website, alignedconsciousness.com.
Awesome. And then anything on social media where they can follow you? Some Insta?
Yeah, I've got a business page on Facebook, Aligned Consciousness, and I've got a LinkedIn profile for me, Judy Kane.
Gorgeous. All right. So for those of you listening live or on the replay, if you're resonating with Judy and all the goodness that she's sharing today, you can find her at alignedconsciousness.com. It is in a clickable link in the description below, wherever you're watching us at. She predominantly hangs out on Facebook, on her Facebook group, and then LinkedIn is her personal. What's your Facebook group again?
Aligned Consciousness. But I'm actually more active on LinkedIn. But either place, I'm, if somebody tries to get in touch with me or leaves a comment, I'm there.
Okay. Very cool. That's great. Well, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with us, all the inspiration. And, we're all dealing with this. Every single one of us has an issue in our life where we're not where we want to be. And a lot of times it is because a limiting belief is keeping us from being able to reach past and over that wall of whatever that is. So yeah, reach out to Judy. She's got her website here, LinkedIn, Facebook. She also, I was looking through her website. She has some free resources on there. She also has a way to connect with her through a contact form. So feel free to reach out to her. Any closing thoughts, Judy, as we wrap up here?
No, I appreciate the opportunity to share a little information about this here. And I just, don't just say, well, it's just the way I am. If something's not feeling right to you, see if you can't change that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, that brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. Thank you so much for being here. To our dedicated listeners who have made it all the way to the end, remember to follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. This is Her Talk Show. I run an amazing community called Her Nation Global, where we continue to have conversations just like this one to inspire you every step of the way, both personally and professionally. As always, until next